All right, it is time to preview Will and I's game. I can't even believe we're having this game. I feel like maybe we should just be like, you know what? Our state will play football next
Do the
year.
coin toss. That's it.
We didn't. So Florida State takes place on Saturday. Florida is 3-8. Florida State is 5-6. This game is at 4:30 on ESPN2. Should be on the Sunshine Network, but I don't think that exists anymore, so it's not. This game used to have national implications. We love to spoil each other's seasons. Everybody would tune in. But both of these programs are at low points, but they each have kind of massive stakes. Florida is on a 4-game losing streak. They're sitting at 3-8 and coming off. Listen, I sat there in the stands. Absolutely the worst home loss that I have been in probably in my lifetime. The worst one since 1990 on paper to Tennessee. And Florida State has lost 6 of its last 8. And they're still looking for a win on the road, which they haven't gotten this year. Actually, they haven't gotten it in 2 years. But Florida State does have the opportunity to be bowl eligible. And when you are as bad as these teams have been, those 15 extra practices that you get for playing in a bowl game actually do mean something. So even if the game means absolutely nothing, having the opportunity to practice 15 times with what will be your core group of kids the next year is valuable. Florida is a 2.5-point favorite, which is interesting because I guess on paper we're even worse, but their conference is worse. So that's probably why. I think both fan bases are on edge. Florida State was told this week that Mike Norvell is sticking around for 2026. I think that is purely a money decision for them. Florida fans may either be already celebrating or may be on suicide watch, depending on what kind of text messages we get during the day leading up to this one on Saturday. But let's talk about this one, Will. Where are Florida's biggest advantages?
I mean, they are the more talented team. The Gators are but I've said that a lot in a lot of losses this year. So I don't know what kind of Florida team that we get, and I'm gonna harp on this a lot here, even though it might not matter. If we all get a fun text on Saturday morning, I do wonder what that does. I know what it'll do to the crowd. I wonder if the team if it does anything to the team, because then you know for sure. Like we've talked about auditioning, right? Then you know, like this guy's coming next year. I got to put on some good tape for him right now. Like I do think there's potential for Florida to have a lot of juice, but they should have it anyways. You have FSU coming into your stadium. It's disrespectful to the Gators that they even show up every year. You need to go punch them in the face and beat them. So I do hope you get a good spark regardless. But really, I mean, Florida is just the more talented team. They just need to play like it.
Do you think if Lane decides he's coming to Florida, do you think there's a chance he comes to this game in person? His game is over. He's wrapping up his tenure. He's not coaching the playoffs if he's coming to Florida. Ole Miss has made that somewhat clear. Could he be there?
I think he could be. If he walks on the field during the game, I'm going to lose my mind. And also, I don't want to get too conspiracy theory, but do you see that we canceled the volleyball game on Saturday?
I did. I saw that. I find that incredibly interesting, particularly because if you go back and look, Florida has canceled sporting events during COVID, and they've canceled sporting events for a hurricane. But outside of that, Florida does not cancel sporting events. I also find it incredibly odd that the excuse we gave is that they need to get ready for the SEC tournament. Like when you scheduled this game, you knew when the SEC tournament was. So if that ends up being completely unrelated, I have a complaint to file about us being weenies with the athletic department. But I did see that. I do find it interesting. It is something I have my eye on. Let's talk a little bit about this Florida State team, though. They sputtered against Virginia, and then they have just absolutely fallen apart after that happened. They're 5-6, but trend-wise, I think they're a lot worse than their record shows. They failed to cover in 6 losses. They lost at home to Miami. They were beaten by Pittsburgh and Stanford and NC State. They have no momentum. I think that even though Florida only has 3 wins, it looks a little bit different. They've played 7 ranked teams. They did go 1-6, but they're 1-1 at home against ranked teams. Their defense plays better in the swamp. Generally, they did not last week. Their offense has flashed at times in Gainesville. Again, not last week, but over the course of this season. And I don't know. Florida dominated in Tallahassee last season. Florida State hasn't forgotten that. I think that is a factor in all of this. But Florida State is desperate. 5-6 win and they go bowling. I don't know. In 2021 didn't Norvell need to win to be bowl eligible and they lost? I'll have to go back and look that up, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think we were both 5-6 that year. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't know. This team is such an enigma to me. How do they beat Alabama? Not just beat Alabama soundly, looked more physical than Alabama week one. Alabama would run this team off the field at this point. Now, I don't know. I don't know how that happens, but, what would you say is the biggest matchup in this for us to keep our eye on?
I think it's really just the totality of FSU's offense because they've vanished a few times this year. They put up 13 points versus Stanford, 10 versus Clemson, only 11 versus NC State. But the other side of that, they put up 42 versus Wake, 34 versus Virginia Tech, and 36 versus Virginia. But aside from the UVA game, their road offense is where all those bad numbers are, where it's 13, 10, 11, where they can't even get that second touchdown. So I think if, you mentioned Florida State was playing better in Gainesville, if you're able to pair that with FSU's offense really struggling on the road, you could see a great showing from Florida defensively. So we'll see what FSU shows up. They've shown that pattern of we'll be great at home, but on the road we can't really execute. I think if you see that come to fruition once again, Gators are in a good spot.
Yeah, I think Florida's run defense really needs to step up. Obviously, that's not something that they have been good at as of late, but if they can, keep FSU in check, they can win this one. I also think Florida starting fast is important because in rivalry games, your atmosphere matters. And the swamp gets loud when Florida is in it early. And I think that then contributes to those road issues resurfacing. I think it damages confidence and feeds your home team. And so getting out and scoring points fast so that everybody sticks around through the fourth quarter instead of leaving to watch this Iron Bowl is, I don't know, is really important. And there's, like I said, there's a lot at stake in this one. And Vegas, though, tells us that Florida is actually the better team, even though the record doesn't say that. How much confidence do you have in Florida playing at home in this rivalry?
It was more last week when I thought that we'd also get a good effort against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I do still think, you can't just walk into the Florida game and not try, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that even though we've talked about how, like, you used the term mercenaries, Allie, like, that is still true.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get up for FSU on your home field. You're still a Florida Gator. And some of these guys who have been here for a few years know that. So I do think that we'll get a decent effort. Yeah, I do think that we'll get a good effort, but I don't know if we still get that good effort if we're down 10-0. Like, I think it could be that quick, where I think maybe Florida will come out strong, 3 and out, FSU scores 3 and out. Do you quit before the first quarter even ends?
What if you're Billy Gonzalez, what's your message to the team after last week at Tennessee? And this is a rivalry. He knows what this means. He knows the importance of this. How do you convey that to your players?
I mean, we heard that Josh Heupel, he showed Tennessee last week a bunch of highlights from the Florida-Tennessee rivalry to try and get them going to break this streak. Just do that same thing, right? Like, if these guys who are mercenaries, maybe you're younger guys who don't understand the rivalry, educate them this week. Show them why this matters so much. Show them why it's such a big deal. Because Billy G knows. You were right about that. He's been here for a while. He knows everything that this rivalry means. So he needs to convey that to the rest of the guys and make sure that they want it as bad as he does, as bad as all the fans do. Because as long as Florida doesn't quit in this game, they do have the more talented team. They have a home field advantage. They can win this game if they just go 100% the entire time.
All right, give me your score prediction for it.
Yeah, so I don't love this Florida team. I'm never going to pick against them against FSU. So Florida by 1,000, but 27-21. I think you'll see a decent back and forth. I think each team maybe turns the ball over 4 times. Like, it's just going to be one of those games. But I'll go Gators 27-21.
Okay, I'm going to go 24-17 Florida. I'm interested to see who we get back health-wise. There was a lot of names that I did not recognize playing on the field on Saturday. But this game does still mean something. And I am excited to see it on Saturday.